This is Kevin Chamberlin from Disney Channel's Jessie, and you're listening to WRHU.
Feels like a party every day. Hey, Jessie.
88.7 FM Radio Hofstra University. My name is Jordan Elliott, and today we are talking to a legend that transcends generations and mediums. He is a star of stage, screen, and social media. Please welcome to the show, Kevin Chamberlin. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Now, first of all, I wanted to ask, since Hofstra is a school filled with a lot of dreamers just waiting to get their big break, I wanted to hear your origin story. I know you're from New Jersey, so would you mind sharing how you got your start there?
I started doing a lot of community theater in my hometown of Moorestown, New Jersey, down in South Jersey. I went to Rutgers, graduated with a BFA, and moved to New York in 1985 and started doing everything from delivering sandwiches to I was Santa Claus at Macy's. And then I got into a resident company at McCarter Theater in Princeton, New Jersey. And one of the shows I did there moved off Broadway. And so that was my first show off Broadway. It was called Smoke on the Mountain. And things just started snowballing from there. And I never had to get a day job again.
I gotta say, as someone who was a former Wickersham brother, it is an honor to be talking to the original Horton and Seussical. You've had a lot of memorable roles besides Horton. You were Uncle Fester in The Addams Family, as well as The Wizard and Wicked. You've had 3 Tony nominations, and most recently, you won a Helen Hayes Award for your role in Guys and Dolls. Tell me, what is your favorite role that you played on Broadway so far? Because there are so many iconic ones.
Horton has become iconic because every single high school and community theater has done it. A friend of mine was at a national high school theater conference, and he was in Seussical, and he said, "How many people here have done Seussical?" And literally 99% of the audience raised their hand. It's become one of those iconic shows, and I love meeting other Hortons and other Wickershams, although you are an enemy.
Everyone I've talked to who's been a theater kid, they've done Seussical. I think that role of Horton is very, very iconic.
And it's great too because it's usually given to an actor who doesn't necessarily get the leading role, usually a chubby character actor. We always kind of got the second and third banana roles. To have a character actor be the romantic lead who gets to kiss the girl, that was really special. And then I did a play called Dirty Blonde that I developed organically with the playwright and with the director, James Lapine. Into the Woods, he wrote the book too. And Dirty Blonde was about 2 New Yorkers who were obsessed with Mae West and kind of fall in love through their fanaticism. And the play flashes back and forth to biographical scenes in Mae West's life and this romantic comedy love story that's contemporary. So those 2 are really my favorites.
Can we talk TikTok for a second? You have 10 million followers. That is pretty amazing.
10.6. Don't underestimate me.
10.6 million followers. That is crazy. What has been your favorite part about your success on there?
At first, it was the power of Disney Channel. That demographic that watched Jessie, grew up watching Jessie, were just starting to get on TikTok. And so that's how I got my first million followers. But then it became a job, especially during the pandemic. I couldn't make any money other than, I was trying to figure out ways to pay the rent. I ended up getting a big branding deal through Sprouts, the grocery store, and did 8 videos for them that I'm very proud of. They're all musical. I hadn't sat down at my keyboard in a while to write. Something good came out of the pandemic. I started writing again, and that's been cool too.
88.7 FM Radio Hofstra University. If you are just tuning in, I am talking with Kevin Chamberlin. My name is Jordan Elliott. Before we get into Jessie, I want to talk a little bit about Teen Beach Movie. I see that you have kept a very close friendship with your co-star, Garrett Clayton. How did this unlikely duo come to be?
Through TikTok, really. He was teaching a class and he called me up and asked me to co-teach it with him. And we've done that a couple times. we just kept in touch over the years. And he also did an episode of Jessie. I saw how well he was doing on TikTok, and he saw how well I was doing. So we decided to start collaborating, and we've done a couple years of Christmases. Usually is when we do our collaborations, and they're fun and they're effortless. It's a great creative outlet. I hope it's not banned.
I hope it's not banned.
I think everyone does.
A lot of our listeners obviously know you from your role as everyone's favorite butler, Bertram, on Jessie. Do you have any favorite memories from the set of Jessie?
I've never been on a cast where I was the oldest person, and to watch these kids grow up and mature and become really funny comedians and actors, and that was a real joy. And we've all kept in touch. We're brought together every year through the Cameron Boyce Foundation, where we raise money for Cameron's foundation that supports charities that for epilepsy. That has really been a bonding thing for us. It was quite a difficult thing to lose Cameron. But the crazy, to go on the other side and say, the wildest thing about Jessie was working with Mrs. Kipling, this Japanese water monitor lizard that had 2,000 teeth. They put metal guards around the kids' legs, but they didn't give me any metal guards. I had to dance with Mrs. Kipling at one point, and I got licked in the head by a giraffe. I worked with zebras, ostriches. Don't ever work with an ostrich. They're mean. Spiders. We actually did an episode, where we're trying to catch a spider, and the ASPCA were on set even for a spider.
I can never even imagine. I'm a television production major, and the one big thing they say is don't work with children or animals. And I think
I had both.
You had both. I think the animals thing, that is terrifying.
Terrifying. It can make for a very long day, and they make a lot of money. And it's a really funny inside Jessie story, is that the original pilot did not have Mrs. Kipling. The Ravi's pet was a capybara, and the capybara they were using was being flown up from South America, and it died on the plane.
Oh.
Yeah. And so at the last minute, they had to replace the animal, who turned out, well, it was Mr. Kipling, and it turned out to be Mrs. Kipling because it laid an egg one day, unbeknownst to the trainer. The trainer didn't even know. Apparently, it's hard to tell the sex of a Japanese water monitor lizard.
I remember that was a big deal back in the day when Mrs. Kipling was announced to be Mrs. Kipling. I had no clue that was based off of a real life experience. I thought that was just written in the script.
Art imitates life.
That's wild. I am happy that you brought up Cameron Boyce earlier. Obviously, we were all so shocked and saddened to hear about the passing of him. Do you have any special memories you could share about him?
Oh, yeah. Well, he was a great dancer. He was a great singer. He really was a triple threat, and he was an old soul. His parents are amazing. His dad is Black and his mom is Jewish. And he goes, I consider myself bluish. And he was always so authentic and at ease with anyone who came to visit the set, anyone who was, from 3 years old to 80 years old. He could be social and authentic with anyone. So he really was an old soul.
It's so tragic. Luke was always the character I identified with the most. I loved how he was such a ham and he was so mischievous. He was
always after the girls.
Always after the girls. We miss Cameron Boyce.
And he played the accordion. I love the little contradictions and he loved his koala bear.
Yeah. One last question I want to ask you. Do you have any new projects that the listeners should keep an eye out for?
Yes, I am on a new show coming up on HBO called Duster. And it's an homage to the muscle car movies of the early 70s. And it's produced and written by J.J. Abrams. I'll just say now, you'll get to see a lot of me. I'm just going to leave it there.
I'm sure the listeners at home could get themselves excited for that one. Kevin Chamberlin, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with?
Go out and support your theater. Go see theater at the college theater and keep theater going, because it's still coming back after the pandemic. And go to your local regional theaters and just support the arts.
All right. Thank you so much. This was Kevin Chamberlin. My name is Jordan Elliott with 88.7 FM Radio Hofstra University.